This guitar is so much fun. What's up, people? How you guys doing? Good times. The Brian May Red Special. One of, I think, only 8 like this one made that my friend lent to me. These guitars, so much fun. We can talk a little bit about this just to start the thing off. So I'm playing through an Axe Effects right now, the AX8. That's a treble booster in front. That's fun. So anyway, the guitar has a pickup switch for each pickup, and then it's got a phase switch for each pickup down here below. So as my understanding is, a Brian May's, God, the screen is so bright. I don't know why it does that, and then it'll like change and get better eventually. But anyways, the guitar will what was I saying? Oh yeah, the phase switches. So what I heard was that Brian May uses these 2 pickups, the middle and the bridge, mainly in series, I believe, in series. And that's the sound you're hearing right now. And if I put them out of phase with one another, so there's a lot of really cool tones to be had, some really skanky stuff, and you just kind of experiment, just turning the pickups on and seeing what happens. And you go, well, that's not it. How did you do it? And then you go, well, that's closer. Now to hit the treble booster. That sounds really, really good. And he's a big volume control guy, so rolling that. That sounds pretty great. Anyway, really fun guitar. This one's got a roller bridge on it and locking tuners, and the tremolo stays in tune like pretty good. Better than most Strats that I've ever tried, that's for sure. It's a little more like Bigsby action, somewhere between a Bigsby and a Strat, I would say, but really pretty damn good on this guitar. The neck is absolutely, you can probably see, it's just the biggest neck that I've ever played. Bigger than those Jeff Beck Strats from the 90s or the 2000s. It's humongous, and when you play it for a while, you start to get used to it, and then you pick up another guitar like my signature guitar, and it's like, oh my god, it's so thin compared. Anyway, that was fun. I'm gonna put this down someplace safe because it's not mine. Just a minute here. Put that over there, and then we'll get into it. Where's my mouse? There we go. Okay. Going back up at the top of the chat. God, my eyes are so bad, and I don't have reading glasses here this week. I think I just need a new prescription is what it is. Early chat request says Tone Hunter. Help for people who've never recorded at home. Basic gear list. Well, I always suggest that if you're just getting started, if you're a Mac user, you've got GarageBand. So that's your DAW is covered. you can get started on GarageBand and it's decent. You know, it's not too bad at all. And it comes with amp models and, you know, drum sounds and all kinds of stuff in there that you can use to get started. So I would suggest that. And what else? As far as an interface and stuff goes, I'm a big UA fan. I also like Apogee interfaces. And for sort of budget interfaces, I like PreSonus a lot. I think are great. I have no idea why this is so... The camera usually looks better. And today it's just so bright and I look like a ghost. I don't know. I swear I have a tan. I got back from Hawaii just last week. Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, recording gear. So yeah, and you need basically a good mic or two. Like it's good to have like a 57 and a decent condenser mic. I mean, I'm using the Samson right now. That's quite nice. This G-Track Pro. This thing works good for you know, it sounds pretty. You're hearing me talk through it right now. You could record acoustic guitar through it and vocals and stuff, and it would probably work pretty good, I would think. I've only used it for this purpose for doing these live streams, but it seems to be a good, pretty quality mic for like $100. I think they're under $150. So something like this, you know, would be great to pick up, and then yeah, you just need a good interface, like a PreSonus or something, or if you want to spend a little more. The UA stuff, the UA Aero is really nice. I think it's around $500. Yeah, and that's all you really need. Oh, headphones or monitors. I mean, you're gonna need a set of phones, but I would probably recommend getting a good set of monitors too. I like the Atom monitors for more inexpensive stuff. They've got a cheaper line now where they've got, I think, some products that are around probably like $299 each or something, probably $500 a pair. You can pick up. You can get cheaper stuff, but the monitors are really important. You want to take records and recordings you're familiar with and go to the, you know, Guitar Center or wherever you shop and actually listen. I would suggest listening to a bunch and trying them out. They usually have a room where you can check out a bunch of different ones and listen to the guitar sounds and sounds that you're familiar with off recordings that you really like and see if they sound like, I don't know how else to describe it. Like to get started, you want to listen to a guitar sound and, you know, the overall mix balance and everything. But as guitar players, you know, we always want the guitar to sound good so that it's inspiring when you're playing through monitors and stuff. And you can at least get, you know, monitors are supposed to be flat. They're not supposed to be necessarily really great sounding. But I sort of think that that's a little bit of a misconception because you still want the sound coming out of them to sound familiar and like something that you understand. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to, you know what I mean? Like the guitar tone shouldn't be like, whoa, that's a lot brighter than what I'm used to, but they say it's flat. So I guess it's good. And I'll have to just get used to that. No, to me, it's like the guitar should sound when, you know, if you listen to the guitar tone of like Back in Black or like some, you know, whatever you're really familiar with, like it's just a good pick something to take to the store to listen to. When you're comparing monitors, put it on and make sure it sounds familiar and like it makes sense, like everything's in balance, you know, and then you'll be on the track to probably getting a monitor that works decently for you. So interface, your DAW, hopefully you've got GarageBand or something like that. If not, you'll have to get something, but you need an interface, you need maybe one good mic, and you need some decent speakers. And those are the things you need to get started recording. How do you get your creativity in creating solo or writing songs? How was your working process? You know, my working process, most of what you guys see when I'm doing the pedal demos is just plugging in a pedal and getting inspired by the sound. So that's really fun because it kind of takes the heat off. I can plug in something and turn it on and hopefully it sounds good. And then I go, oh, that's cool. That kind of sounds like I would do something like this. And then you play a riff and then you go, okay, let's develop that a little bit more. And then you develop it, and then you've got one part, and then I'm thinking about the drums after that and the bass, and then I've got like one part, drums and bass. Now what can I do on top of that? And then it's just usually ended it coming up with a couple more parts to kind of try and layer and stuff, and that's it. If I turn down my screen just a hair, if it didn't look any better here. So damn bright and awful looking. One thing I hate about computers is the unpredictability. Like when the fan turns on like super hard, you know, it's just like making tons of noise on a computer for no apparent reason when it hasn't ever done it before when you're running the same programs or whatever. Or like this, like why does sometimes this looks totally good, like the lighting and stuff, and today it's like completely whack. I don't know, computers. Just a little rant there. Those YouTube thumbnails are getting more disturbing each time. You gotta have some fun, you know. I think you're talking about the YouTube thumbnail I put up for this video with the Brian May guitar. Yeah. Oh, the other way I get ideas, by the way, for David, you were asking about creativity, songwriting. Many times I record things on my phone. If I'm just like walking around town and I got my iPhone, and I'll turn on the recorder. If I'm like hearing a riff, you know, I don't know if you guys do this, but I walk around and I think riffs, like, or I hear things in my head or whatever, and then I start humming them, you know, and then you realize it's a riff. Whoa, that's pretty cool, you know, and then you hum the idea into your phone, and then later on you can go back and revisit those things and kind of mine them later. I heard this great story about Tommy Lee. He went to jail for something at one point, probably in the 90s or something, and he went to jail and he was like getting ready to, like, for 6 weeks or something like that, and then he was getting ready to record an album, and he used to like hum things in his head, and he'd call on the jail phone home to his answering machine at home and sing the riff into his answering machine. So when he got home from jail, he had this whole answering machine full of song ideas, and then he made a record. That's very productive jail time. I like that. Kind of funny. Yeah. Anyway, what do we got here? My copy of Guitar Nerds in the mail, says Chris Butler. That's awesome. Yeah, I sent them some. I'm gonna need to send more. I've been looking at my CD Baby stats. Like, they'll send me an email every day saying what I sold and stuff like that. And Guitar Nerd, like, I sent them a bunch, not a bunch. I mean, they got maybe 30 copies or something like that. And I think they're almost all gone. So thank you guys if you picked one up. I really appreciate that. I had no idea there was going to be so many people that, you know, I mean, not like a gajillion people, but it was like I sent them some a couple of weeks ago, and I think they're all gone. So that was a nice surprise for me. Thank you for getting them. And I will send them more. I'll have to get more made eventually, I guess, but I've still got a box of about 150 here or something. So the last of my stock of Guitar Nerd from back a number of years ago. Hi from the UK. Great reverb demo this week, Pete. Thank you. Yeah, you're talking about the that's Gary talking about the Seymour Duncan, I believe, right? Yeah, that was a really good sounding pedal, really great. The Dark Sun. Mark Holcomb, I believe, is the guy from Periphery that co-designed that pedal. If you guys haven't seen that, go check it out. The video I made this week for that pedal. It's a really good sounding pedal. There's something I like about it. It's very easy to use compared to a lot of the sort of programmable, bigger size reverbs and delays out there on the market. This one, there's something about it that's I don't know. It's just simple to get around on. And it's inspiring, the sounds. There's not like a ton of bells and whistles or extra sounds that you might not use. There's, I don't know. It's just a great time for gear, I guess. I mean, because when I think about it, you know, when it comes to the Boss delays and reverbs or the Strymon stuff or this one that I just tried, there's so many great options out there for people these days. It really is like, it's almost overwhelming. And Rockin' Right Out of the Gate says, mute that bozo. Yeah, I had to rock that thing. So much fun, that guitar. My friend John Shanks lent it to me, and he is, if you guys don't know John Shanks, he's the producer extraordinaire that has done all Bon Jovi records for the last gajillion years, but he also has written and produced, like, I don't know how many countless top 40 and even #1 hits for all kinds of artists. So he's worked with a jillion people, but at the core, the way he started is just the biggest guitar nerd. He really is the biggest guitar nerd, and he's so into you know, I actually took a video of him yesterday. There's an AC. Okay, so he lent me an AC30, which I have back there. It's a really good condition gray panel, probably 63 or 64 top boost, early top boost, with original speakers and everything. And but he has about, I don't know, he must have had 10 of them up at his studio. I mean, it's just overwhelming to if you see that what he's got, and the kind. He's a real student of you know, guitar players like The Edge and Gilmore and Brian May, and he just really gets inside the tones and wants to know how the sounds on records were created. And he really loves the mid-gain kind of AC30 or Marshall Plexi turned up to 4 or 5, and then hitting it with some pedals. That's really where his wheelhouse is. He loves those kind of organic Nashville-y, slightly crunchy guitar sounds that you can roll the volume up and down on the guitar. And he's a really great guitar player. But such a geek for gear. It's incredible. I mean, he knows, you ask him what Gilmour used on such and such a song, and he knows exactly what he used, or The Edge, or, Brian May. He was like schooling me on a bunch of Brian May stuff yesterday. It's pretty interesting. He's really into it. Old Guy's Guitar Vlog is in the top chat. Thank you, good sir. He says, thoughts about changing recording from 44.1 to 48 in a DAW. Would that change audio quality? Getting a bit of static when uploading iMovie to YouTube. Static. It's possible there's some sort of conversion going on if you're sending 44.1 to YouTube. I believe YouTube's 48K, so it's probably using some kind of upsampling thing or whatever they call it to change the sampling frequency. I do everything at 2448. 24-bit 48K, and then when I export my videos, they're 720p 48K, because that's what YouTube likes. I think that's what I was told. I don't even do 1080 or 4K or any of that stuff. I just do 720p HD 48K audio. Give it a try. You also want to make sure that your audio is not clipping, that's for sure, and maybe like a 0.2 of a dB or something under peaking at 0, and that'll give you the, make sure it's not too. You can go all the way up to the limit of like peaking almost at 0 dB, but go 0.1 of a dB, or you can use a limiter on your bus when you're exporting the audio out of your DAW, and set the maximum at like negative 0.2 or whatever, you know what I mean? Like almost at 0 dB, but like a point or two below that. Not a dB, but 0.01 or 0.02 dB or whatever below. And then you're leaving yourself just a little bit of room for conversion and whatever YouTube does to the signal and stuff like that. But yeah, I wouldn't send the 44.1. I would do it at 48K. Make sure everything you're sending to YouTube is 48K already. And I recommend 720p. Who else is here? There's a fellow from Norway in the house. Hi, Norway. What's up? Dracula says, I have great taste. Says, happy Sunday. And howdy, Pete. What's up, people? Greetings from Key West, says Carl. Hey, what's happening? What's your opinion on top wrapping on a stop tailpiece? I never had good luck with it. I've tried it a couple times. You guys ever try that on a Les Paul, where you put the strings over the top of the, instead of coming out string through the tailpiece over the tunematic, you go ball in this way around the top of the tailpiece and then over. I could never get it to work. I tried it a couple times and I just ended up sort of feeling like I burned a set of strings doing that, and didn't really work for me. That's just my experience. People obviously make it work. It's all about the ratio of where the bridge is to the tail. You got to have enough down pressure over the tunematic, for the strings to stand the saddles and stuff. Hi, Pete. I've never seen you with a PRS. There is a reason. That's not a PRS. It's actually a guitar that now John doesn't even know exactly who made it. I think it's Fryer that made those. The guy that does you're talking about the Brian May guitar. For those just joining in now, I was jamming some Queen on the Brian May Red Special guitar that I have here. I believe it was made by Fryer. And it's Shanks said it's like one of 8 or something like that. And he ordered it through a friend that said, I'm getting one of these and you've got a chance to get one now. Just get one. And John said, okay, yeah, get me one. And then the friend, gave it to, got it to John. I'm sure they were very expensive and stuff. And I don't know, it's a custom guitar thing. And I believe it's a Fryer. Another fellow in town, Oliver Lieber, who's another total guitar geek, and also has an amazing studio and wrote a bunch of hit songs. Those two guys are friends, John Shanks and Oliver Lieber. They both got Brian May guitars. That's the story. I feel like I've had a lot of coffee and like I'm talking like I've had a lot of coffee, but it's a good feeling. Okay. Dean says, Pete, I have a Burns May guitar that frets out pretty badly. Do you have any issues? This guitar that I was just playing has quite high action, I find, and the bridge is backed all the way down. It's a bear to play. Maybe I should just get it again for a second here. Show you something. Like I was saying, it actually plays pretty good, but it's just high action. It's a bit of a bear, and the reason I say that is because it's short scale. The action's quite high up here. I mean, you can see that string. I'm pushing it down. It's not low action by any means, and the bridge is backed pretty much all the way down. Now there's a bit of room for the truss rod to be adjusted, and I could straighten the neck a bit, and I think that would bring it into focus a little bit more through this range. But make it a little bit easier to play, but it's a little tough to play. And because of the short scale, when you get up here, your fingers are close together. Like it's tight. It's tight when it's up there. So, but what a fun guitar. It's fun for the sounds and just the feel. It's like, it's such a thing, you know? But I'm telling you, the neck, oh my God, it's absolutely humongous. I mean, it is the biggest thing down here. It's like, it's got to be an 1.25 inches thick or something like that. It's just huge. Like those R9 Les Pauls that have the big, and it's like a D too. It's like, there's no shoulder going on where there's, you know, I guess it's a copy of his exactly. So, you know, pretty interesting. Kurt says, thanks for these great Sunday vids. Thank you, sir. Thanks for joining. I'm glad you guys are here with me. And it's nice to see y'all. Yeah. Anders says, great sound. Yeah, the tone is a, like I say, it was the Axif. Well, let me plug back in for a minute. For those that just joined in, because we got 300 people online. There was only 150 people a while ago. So I'll play this thing a little bit more for you. Is it working? It's not working. Why not? Oh, I got the mute on. Yeah. That's the treble booster. So the treble booster I'm using right now is a Cornish, and I'm actually using an Axifx patch here right now that has a treble booster in front of it, and then I'm hitting it again with the second treble booster, which is what John was actually saying that he does sometimes, is that he uses two, like a boost in front of the amp and then a treble booster for solos, and that's supposedly coming from the mouth of Pete Cornish, who designed his rigs for a long time, all the way through the 70s. He did all his pedal boards and everything. So pretty magic sounding. You hear me turn it off, right? What an amazing sound. I mean, it's just the treble booster right in front of the Axifx right now, and it's what a fun sound to solo with. Really cool. It's just like all those mids. For those of you out there that don't have a good treble booster, you got to get one and experiment around with it, because it is the greatest, just singing, soaring lead tone. You know, it really is amazing. There's somebody up in the top chat. It's Rico USA. Hello, good sir. He says, with your Ampete switcher, did you custom cut your cables? I didn't actually. I used a ton of cables that I just had lying around. Did you include any combos with Ampete? Combos? No, no combo amps. It's all just the heads. How did you include your aux box and Kemper with the Ampete? And if not, how do you attach them to your DAW? Well, I'm not using the Kemper or the Axifx or anything like that with the Ampete. What those are all just running into different channels on my. So what I have is, it's a really great. You asked some great questions actually. I've got a couple, like an Axifx, a Kemper over here, and a helix, and they're all over here on this side of my desk. And I have them all patched into my patch bay, which is on the other side of my desk. And I can simply take cables out of the patch bay and run them into inputs on my interface. And then there's a RJM AB box. That's a MIDI AB box under my desk down here, and that's what I plug into first. One side, so I plug my guitar into that. It's got a buffer in it. One side splits to the modelers over on this side of my desk, okay, and the other side goes to my amps, to the Ampete. So what's happening is the side going to the modelers feeds them, and all I need to do is patch the output of one of those modelers into my interface and arm a couple tracks in my DAW, and I've got signal into the interface, you know, because I'm plugged into the AB box and it's feeding the modelers. There's a cable that is plugged into the either the Helix, the Axe-Fax. I can literally just move the cable, right, and into which modeler I want to use, and then make sure the outputs of that modeler are patched into my DAW. I hope that makes sense. It's a lot of kind of information without seeing it, but I kind of detail it all in my studio part 2, I believe, video where I break down the studio. So one side is feeding the Ampete, and what's going on there is that the speaker outs on the Ampete, one of them going to the Sur reactive load over here, one of them's going to the aux, and then I've got speaker cables already plugged in there that are going to be going into an ISO room with actual cabinets that I just don't have dialed up yet. So it's taking forever to get the cabinet room done here. But and that's it. So I hope that makes sense, sort of, because you asked some good questions. Do you think you will need to upgrade your Mac? This Mac is really good. I bought, like, at the time, it's a few years old now, 3 or 4 years old, but it's the top of the line from that time with a super fast processor and all SSD drives. And what else? Fast video card and all that stuff. So this computer should keep me going for a while, I think. I'll get at least another few years out of it. Jennifer's in the top chat, and she says, yo, what's the deal with the Queen gig? And what's Shanks' involvement? Shanks doesn't have any involvement. I'm just doing it. It's a corporate thing that I'm doing where I'm playing with my friend Brandon, plays with the Ultimate Queen Celebration or Experience, one of the two, with Mark Martell singing. And it's a corporate, like, private gig that their guitar player Tristan can't make, so they asked me to fill in. So that's the deal with that one. Kurt is in the top chat, and he says, any tips for those who want to write music for commercials and TV? Let's see. Suggestion: have people pay up to a certain amount of money to have you personally review a song they send you and critique, like Rick Beato does. That's an interesting idea. I just spoke to Rick last week. We had a good talk on the phone, actually. He's a great guy. I love Rick. Interesting idea. I get a lot of people asking me to actually critique and review and ask me what I think of their songs, and I don't have a lot of time to listen to stuff like that because there's just so much damn work to do, and it takes time when you do things like that. It's a pretty good idea, actually. I guess if I was, if I could, put some value on my time and view it as like a songwriting workshop or something like that. Maybe I'll think about that. Thanks for the idea. That's a good idea, Kurt. I do like that. I hope I didn't miss anybody in the top chat. I feel like I did. Somebody was, there, I did miss one person. There's Mark. He says, which high gain amps, he's in the top chat. Thanks, Mark. He says, which high gain amps do you recommend to complement BE100, JJ100, SLO, and PT100 for modern, tight, detuned metal? Should I get a Kemper Axe 3 again? You kind of got a lot covered there in the modern. I mean, I would say between the JJ, the BE, and the PT, you've got Marshall sounds for sure. SLO is different, so that's cool. Maybe something like, if you really had to get another one, if you need one at all, I would say, I guess, a diesel or something would be cool. But you should be able to get just about everything else that you need from modern, tight, detuned metal out of everything you've got. I guess you could use a modeler too. It's always good to have, if you've got a really full studio kind of, with tons of amps and stuff. I love having the like I say, like I'm playing through the Axe right here today, and it's these things. As much as I love amps, and I do, you guys know I'm always railing on about how I dig amps and the real thing and all that. There's great uses for modelers, so it's nice to have one of those around as well, to plug into and just practice really quickly, or or do some quick recordings where you don't have time to dial in microphones and stuff, or if you're going to go to a gig or a session and you need to go there and get something done within an hour, and you just there's these great uses for modelers where it's just like they're terrific devices. I'm using the AX8 to do this Queen show because that's what Tristan does, and he sent me his patches, which is I got them, and that's what I'm playing through right now. It's a good sound, and in the mix he sent me a bunch of versions of their versions of songs, live versions, and it sounds great in the mix. Really does. It's hard to deny that. It's like, well, that works. Sounds really cool. Kurt, I missed the first part of your question. Sorry, dude. Kurt was up in the top chat, and he was asking suggestions for those who want to write music for commercials and TV. What I would suggest is, I don't know that much about it, to tell you the truth. When I had a studio in Santa Monica, my studio was located there in a place where people mainly did music for commercials. So I saw those people working on it, and it was a company, and they had a small amount of sort of staff composers, and they'd have requests for music and projects and stuff come in, and then those composers would do those jobs. And I'm not sure business wise how it worked, what their cut of the music was and stuff like that. But basically, there's companies like that. There's also companies like that sort of farm jobs out to composers. One Revolution Music was one that I did a few things for in Santa Monica. I remember them. They just coincidentally had an office in Santa Monica as well. But it's a hard game. I know that these days is that it's not what it used to be, like even 10 or 15 years ago. It started to get more and more and more difficult to, much like the music business. It's like the value placed on these things isn't what it once was. And a lot of the composers that worked at the studio that I had in my room in, they would be complaining about kind of like how the business has changed, and it's just not the same as it used to be. So I know it's a tough game, and I just don't know that much about it. One of the things that they suggested, I remember the suggestion kind of for people that wanted to get into it, is come up with a reel or something like, so watch commercials, listen to the music in the commercials, and then compose some things like that. So for, a car commercial or whatever, or sports, it's like, I remember one of the guys that worked there, and he kind of had his own thing going. I remember he did some things for the company that had the space that I was in, but he had his own studio, and he would do a lot of outside jobs, and he was doing a lot of sports stuff for shows in New Zealand and Australia and stuff like that. So it'd be like, stuff that sounded like sometimes like really dramatic with big kettle drums and stuff, and then like down-tuned guitars and stuff, and kind of like sports sounding stuff, I don't know. And he was just really good at that stuff. But I don't know how to break into that game. I really don't. Beyond, if you do figure out who to send music to or get jobs with or whatever, you're going to have some stuff done, composed that sounds like TV music. So I would say come up with a reel of at least, 5 to 10 ideas or something like that are all 60 seconds long or something that are like your sports demo and your action news demo and your, car commercial music or ambient, blah, 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 whatever, I hope that's somewhat helpful. I don't know if it was. Okay. I'm just going to go back to, because I'm kind of so far back in the chat here, guys. I'm going to, if you ask something towards the beginning, ask me again, if you don't mind. Somebody's having issues with their Corso. Mike mentions he's having issue with ground loop issues with the, you probably need an isolation transformer on the line out. I know the Corso has a line out, right, that you can run right into because it's got a built-in resistive load. You might be having a ground loop thing. Get one of those Palmer. The best thing to have around is the Palmer ISO boxes. I have a couple. I'm not sure if this will reach right now, but I have some of these cables. I'll show you guys this because I'm always talking about ISO transformers. Dave Friedman. This just has a regular guitar end on the other end, but see how it's got this big jack on it? This actually has an isolation transformer built into it. So you'll see there's like a little, it's really hard to see actually, but built up there in the top where the cable, the little box there, you see the black thing up there in the top of the cable. That's an ISO transformer. So Dave Friedman has made me a few of these cables over the years. This is just like a 10-foot cable. And if I ever run into a situation where I'm running out, like an unbalanced out on a, some sort of something like the Corso, and going into a recording interface and I get a buzz, I'll just use that cable and it always solves the problem instantly. It just means there's a ground loop. So you could hit up Dave Friedman at racksystems@yahoo.com and have him make you a cable like that. Tell me what Pete Thorn sent me and I need a cable with an isolation transformer in one end. They're just a good thing to have around. A great thing to note is if you use a wireless system, many of them, the outputs on them, you either need to ground lift the wireless system. Like if it's a wireless system that has a 3-prong cable coming out of it, a standard IEC cable or whatever, and it plugs into the wall and you run the output of that into a guitar amp, I can pretty much guarantee you're going to have a ground loop, which is crazy. They should put an ISO transformer in the output on those things, but they almost never do. I think maybe Audio-Technica does in their wirelesses. But pretty much everyone I've ever had or used on tour or anything like that, I've had to use a transformer, isolation transformer. So anyway, Palmer makes. I'm going to find the one that Palmer makes right now so that I can just show you guys what it looks like. Palmer isolation transformer. So I can recommend that everybody should have one of these things in their toolkit. The other one you can get is oh shit, sorry, I'm trying to take a picture here so I can show you guys what it looks like. The other one that you can get is a EBTech hum eliminator, and they make a 2-channel one of these that you can get, and it's just like an input and an output. But anyway, here's what the Palmer looks like. Everybody take a screenshot of that or something. It's literally, there's a 1/4-inch jack on one end and a 1/4-inch jack on the other end. And you can just use a standard guitar cable with it. If you run into a buzz or a ground loop issue or whatever, you just literally insert that in line wherever you've got the problem. Just run a cable into it, cable out of it, and you're done. You'll kill that ground loop. They're $60, I think. So you can order those from Sweetwater or anybody that sells that kind of stuff. David is in the top chat. Thank you, good sir, for doing the top chat. I appreciate all you guys doing that. Whoever participates, I really do every week. David Traver Music. He says, Pete, I have a 72 Super Lead 100 watt and an 83 JCM 850 watt. I use the Super 95% more than the 800. I get that. I do. Is the 800 worth keeping, or would a Super Lead with an overdrive pedal be fine in its place? I think so. I'm not a big 800 guy. I'm just not, I know people like them, but there's better master volume amps out there, in my opinion. It's a classic, and they sound really good. They can be used to great effect. But to me, a Plexi is a better amp, or Super Lead. I just prefer the sound for whatever reason. I don't know, I guess if you put that master volume in line and stuff, and it just kind of futzes with the tone. Any day of the week, I'd rather have a Super Lead with a post-phase inverter master volume installed on the back and maybe a pedal in front. It's just more my thing. It's a very similar sound. It's just better. That's what I think. So 800's cool amps for sure. Used on a lot of great stuff, but not as cool as a good Super Lead to me. This is me. People might differ with me on that. And once you get into using the low gain input on them and using them with pedals and stuff, then it becomes a different thing, and that becomes a useful sound if you're Billy Corgan and stuff like that. But I think if you're not using it, you say 95% of the time, that's a good sign to me that you could sell it and get something else. Use that money for something else. That's my opinion. Just my opinion. Could you play something with less distortion on that guitar? Loved the high gain tone. It's funny because with the Brian May guitar, it's like mainly the way he gets his sounds is he never uses less distortion, but what he'll do is that. Just roll down. It cleans up beautifully. That's how we used to do it, kids. I just land the treble booster. Practice. Pick the slide. What a fun guitar, man. I don't know why I don't have a treble booster in my rig all the time. Well, actually I do. Come to think of it, I've got the Unit 67 on there. I need to listen to it and see how close I can get to this sound with that pedal. The Unit 67 is a really cool pedal with Rangemaster style boost in it that I do have on my board, so I shouldn't forget that. There's some folks in the top chat. Robert says he's got an Earthquaker Devices cloven hoof fuzz pedal. Isn't that kind of a Big Muffy thing? I think it's creating tons of static when the volume knob is off. I'm powering it with the Strymon Oh-Hi and I have no issues with other pedals. Good question for Dave Friedman. Is it in a loop switcher, or is it just in line on a pedal board? I don't know. That's a tough one. Could be the power supply. Always best to just try it with a battery or try it with a different power supply and see if that solves the issue. You know, it's one way you could go at it and see if that kind of takes care of it. You know, always trying to eliminate things when you're trying to track down problems like that. Like, first of all, pull the pedal out of your board and then just plug it in with a battery. See if you can figure out a good. God, it's so bright. Stupid. I wish it would. Like, why doesn't it adjust? Haven't we got this figured out in 2019? It's like, why is the contrast or whatever it's insane. I look like I'm, I don't know, some sci-fi movie or something. Anyway, run it on a battery, run it with a different power supply, pull it off the board, and then start introducing things. You know, it's probably not the Oh-Hi. It's Oh-Hi is a pretty solid power supply. But you'll find the thing that you do that all of a sudden, well, when I do this now, and then, I would say consult somebody like Friedman or something and ask them, like, why is this happening when I use this particular pedal? But it's always a process of elimination when you're trying to find a noise or anything like that in a rig. Can I recommend a good AC30 head clone? That's from Fernando, and he's up in the top chat. I have a top hat. You can see it. Or sorry, not a top hat. I did have a top hat. King Royale is a good one. And if you need a slightly less watts, the Club Royale is a great AC30 amp in a 15 or 18 watt style design. The Divide by 13 I have back there, that's an RSA 31. That's a really good sounding AC30 clone. But to be honest, the Vox hand wired is really quite good. I have a 15 watt version, AC 15 over here, which is technically it's like an AC 30. Really, it's not 30 watt, it's a 15 watt. But original AC 15s, they had a Pento tube. What is it? Can't remember the name of the ECC 88 or 88 or something. I can't remember. Maybe that's not it. Somebody out there will know. But they had a different style front end than an AC30 that was just very different than the AC30 circuit. Also a great sound. So that was the original AC15. Then the AC30 came out and they had the normal channel, and then they added top boost and all that stuff. And it was a very different front end than the AC15. This new Vox AC15 HW, or hand wired, they're kind of fawn colored amps that came out, basically an AC30 preamp with both the normal channel and the top boost channel, no vibrato channel. And they also make an AC30 version of the amp, hand turret board wired amp, and they sound really good. I have one. It's really good. I'm making my amps in the zone video here pretty quick for AC30s. And I'm going to use my AC15. I'm going to use this AC30 I have back there, which is a really nice example of an old one. And as well as I think I'll use my divided by 13 over here. So you get to hear them all and hear how they compare. I'm interested. I don't know. I've never done a kind of shootout or comparison quite like that. So Lauren says that he can't figure out where to buy Thornbuckers locally, and Lauren's in LA. I know that. Lauren, they're at the Mesa store in Hollywood, and there's going to be another dealer soon in LA, but the Boogie store on Sunset Boulevard will have them, and if they don't have them in stock, they'll get them for you. But that's the local. They're a good dealer for Suhr guitars as well as for pedals and pickups. So that's where you would go. Unfortunate that you search for that and you can't find it, but I wish that it'd come up easier. It would seem like it would. But Ben Van Geest is in the top chat. He says, "Hey Pete, any idea where to get a perfect Charvel Star model template? I need it to build my own, but they probably won't give them out, I suppose." I wouldn't think they would. Let me think. Where to get a template for something like that. I don't know. Maybe a company like Musicraft or something, or Musicraft, right? Or Warmoth. They might be. I would ask them if they know, if they have those specs or design, or if they'll make you one, or maybe you want to cut it yourself. But I don't know. But yeah, hit up Warmoth or Musicraft and see if maybe they can help you with that. Michael says, Pete, has your sense of aesthetic for tone changed over the years as you've grown as a musician? Some things have and some things haven't. I mean, it's funny because a lot of the sounds that when I listen to recordings of tones that I had going back to 2001 or something, I was like, why did I ever change from that sound? That was good. Like I used to use that I just was talking about it, the Top Hat King Royale. I had one of those. It was an AC30 style amp, and I used it with a 412 cabinet that had V30s in it. So I used that amp with the internal speakers as well as a 412 with V30s, and I used to use them at the same time, open back and close back, and it was a great sound. It had this like kind of modern 412 thing going with the open back cab that's running 6 speakers at once, and I'd mic them both, and it was a really cool tone. I don't know why, I guess it was just what I was doing at the time at work. But anyways, and then when I think back about the classic sounds that I loved in the, going back to all the way when I started playing guitar around the early 80s, I still love those sounds. It hasn't really changed. So, but I would say that your taste just widens and you start to appreciate other things, like, whereas I might not have understood fuzz pedals very much before, or maybe certain lower gain sounds, or, my interest always, widens for those things. And you want to learn about, well, how did so-and-so get that sound? It's more like my taste in players changes. And then you want to learn about the other tones. Does that make sense? Like, I was into mainly the rock guys or whatever, but I always listened to, like, even when I was listening to, hard rock and metal mainly and stuff like that, I was always super interested in also like Mike Campbell or, the Pretenders. I loved the guitar sounds when those records were coming out in, the late 70s, early 80s and stuff. I always loved the, Back on the Chain Gang or something. It's like, that's a beautiful guitar sound. I always loved it when that came on the radio. Or Bryan Adams, and it was like he was using AC30s and with Keith Scott, and it was like, I was talking about Bryan Adams and what great guitar tones he got with Keith on those early Bryan Adams tunes. There was such great, cool guitar sounds. So I always appreciated the lower gain stuff too. Yeah. let's see. Where do you put the Palmer in the signal chain for cutting the ground loop for the Corso? I would try it on the line output, that you're running to your interface. Try it there. Yeah, that's probably where you're running into the problem. That's my guess. 2 people up in the top chat, and you guys are too kind, but they just did the top chat. No questions or anything like that. That's from Frank, the Buffster, and Chris Butler. You guys are too kind. Thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yeah. Looking for more questions. Rookie question on IRs from Aaron Love. He says, I have some IRs, I guess. But how do I access them in Logic? Do I need a plugin to add to the channel strip? I've been using the PRS plugin to access my IR library. And then the question kind of got cut off after that. Well, what you can do in Logic is, if you want to use a plugin that it comes with, you can use Space Designer. It's not the easiest way to load IRs, but it works fine. So Space Designer is the reverb that comes with the convolution reverb that comes with Logic. And you would simply just load up, I can't remember exactly how you do it, but you find the IR in the folder using Space Designer and you load it up, and then you just set the mix 100% wet. And then that'll be the right sound. Make sure you set the mix 100% wet though, no dry signal. So that's one way you can do it. Now, I highly recommend getting Mix IR2 from what's the company? Redwires. Redwires Mix IR2 is the IR loader I like. It's got super long time, so you can load up really long IRs into it if you want to do that for room sounds. It's really easy to use, really easy to blend as many IRs as you can possibly. I think there's like 8 slots, so you can blend, different microphones and different IRs together for different sounds. Know that when you blend certain IRs together, that you can run into phase problems. That's the only thing. Like, for example, if you blend a Celestion IR or something somebody made on the internet or something with a Ownhammer IR, they're going to be out of phase with one another, and you're going to run into these problems. So I mainly recommend, if you're trying to blend different IRs in a program like Mix IR2, that they come from the same company, and then they should all be in phase. Yeah, but yeah, anyway, if you just to recap, if you want to use Logic, use Space Designer just as a way to get started. But get a dedicated IR loader that's, so useful for that. Moving down in the chat a little lower here. How do you have that guitar set up? Are you talking about this Brian May guitar? It just is how I got it yesterday from John. It's I would say medium high action, and the pickups, I don't know who makes these, to tell you the truth. Let's see. Burns. Trisonic. They're Burns pickups. Recreations of the original ones that Brian had, I guess. Jennifer says that slide tone is sick, except I'm not playing slide. This is the tremolo. I'm trying to fake it using the you see, is it still working? You go. Trying to fake the slide, bending in and out of notes and things using the trem. All right. What else we got here? You guys are talking amongst yourselves. That's good. Are you using an English sixpence for a pick? No, but there is one. I have one here that actually John gave me to try. So it's kind of nicely taped to the bottom of this treble booster, and I almost feel like I don't want to do it just because it's like, I don't know if Cornish did it. I think he did, because I think that this treble booster I have here came from Pete Cornish and bought by Shanks, and Cornish taped the sixpence to the bottom. I kind of want to leave it like that. I don't know. It's not my pedal, so I'm just borrowing it. So maybe that's a silly reason, but I just wanted to leave it the way that it was. I should try it, I guess. Didn't May use something weird as a pick? Yes, English sixpence. That's Alan Berry. What else do we got here? The Beano is a good treble booster. I haven't tried that one. I have a couple from 65. Makes a really nice one. I have it divided by 13. And I love my BAE fuzz and treble booster. That's a great pedal. Treble booster and fuzz built into one pedal, and using them both at the same time is a killer sound. Look, if nobody's ever tried the BAE fuzz, it truly is special and unique. It's probably really expensive, but it's cool. The gray one's the one I have. I know they make another one, a yellow one. I'm supposed to be doing a demo of that relatively soon, I think. Jamie says he had the pleasure of trying a Friedman 50-watt Deluxe, BE Deluxe, I guess, into a 212 Mesa. Also tried Marshall 1959 SLP hand-wired dimed on a 412 with greenbacks. Wow. Both good amps, both good tones. The classic way to do it. Power. Raw power. Let's see. Chris says that BAE Hot Fuzz demo was sick. I'm all the way at the end of the chat here now, guys. Yeah, that pedal, it's really great sounding. Kind of magic for. I remember Holly Henderson used it a lot on the record that we did, and she really loved it for her lead sound. Anytime I dialed up a standard kind of Marshall lead sound, or like when she wanted to play a solo on something with an overdrive or whatever, she was like, "It sounds like somebody's going to shred or something. This doesn't work." And then I'd get the fuzz, and she was like, "There we go. That's my sound." So she really liked it. What's your unicorn guitar? The one you still think about, the one that got away? That's from Angus. My 54 Les Paul Gold Top. I had a beautiful Gold Top that I sold. This is going back 20 years into the 90s. I sold this Gold Top that I had, and it was a great guitar. It was a player. The top had been refinished. The headstock had a repair. But the top was refinished really well sometime in the 70s. The people thought that I bought it from. So it already looked green again, and it was like it looked original. And the parts were all original, and everything was. It was a great guitar, great neck, and I sold it. Like, I don't know what the hell I was doing, and that's the one that and my 59 Gibson J50. So I had two 50s Gibsons that I sold like a idiot. If you have a nice, Dents is reluctantly is in the top chat, and he sent me $5. You're too kind, my friend. I appreciate that for being here all the time. Thank you very much. As well as Tim Corder up there in the top chat. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. We got 358 people online. Great to have you all here. Those are my two guitars, though. The 250s Gibsons that I got rid of. They're both great, and I never should have sold them, and always regretted it. Thinking of a custom build T-style and want that telly on steroids type sound. What wood pickup, etc. combo do you recommend? Telly on steroids. I guess, you want to look at maybe like the hotter broadcaster style pickup. Some of the telly pickups can get pretty hot. God, what just happened to the... It's problematic, this YouTube stuff. It's like the chat just completely vanished on me. I'm trying to figure out where that question just went. But anyways, I see. It jumps around, drives me crazy sometimes. Wood and pickup combo. So, I mean, the 50s tellies were mostly all ash. And then they use a real hot broadcaster style pickup in the bridge. It's almost like humbucker strength. I mean, they're like 7K or 8K or something almost. And so there was that. Whether you go maple neck, the maple necks were quite thick on them and beefy, and then they had maple boards. Maybe you want to do a rosewood board, but with that hotter pickup. I don't know. It just depends. If you want a little more mids, a little more of that warmer kind of thing, and a little softer attack, with the hot pick. Why is there somebody coming in my room right now? I'm in the middle of a live stream. Sorry, guys. Hold on one sec. Hey, I'm in the middle of a live stream. Sorry, I'm in the middle of a live stream. Oh, hey, dude. I'm doing my live stream. What's up? That's okay. How's it going? Good to see you. How you doing? Sorry, guys. A buddy of mine. Now I feel bad. I feel like I kind of chewed him out. Anyways, you'll get over it. What was I talking about? I don't even remember. Oh, tellies, pickups and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I would say just the main thing is that bridge pickup. Getting a hotter, like the broadcaster style pickup is where most of that telly on steroids thing is going to come from. Rather than the later '60s, the weaker sort of bridge single coil. I'm a big fan of Ron Ellis pickups. Those are the ones that I have in my telly and I love. Really terrific sounding. If you want to get something that's a little more like probably easy to get, maybe look at the Duncan stuff. He makes a really cool pickup that I like a lot, and my Ellis pickups have this as well. Is they've got different magnets in the bridge. So pretend this is a telly. Oh, I have the guitar right here. I'll just show you. What Ron does is he'll use Alnico 3 magnets in the top 3 strings, and then 5s in the low string. And the reason for that is that the 5 has a little snappier, brighter sound, and then when the pickup slants, it can get awfully bright on a telly. On the top strings, he uses a thicker, kind of fatter sounding magnet, warmer sounding magnet, I guess, Alnico 3. The Duncan 5.2 is a similar design, so you might want to look at that pickup. Duncan 5.2 has Alnico 2 magnet for the top 2 strings, and then Alnico 5 for the bottom 4, I believe, is the deal. Might be on the G string as well, but I don't think so. I think that's a 5 on the Duncans. So you might want to try that. See if that floats your boat. Yeah. My telly's ash. It's a 60s, but it's an ash body. A lot of the 60s tellies that had the blonde finish, they still use ash on those because I guess maybe the rain shows through a little or something. I don't know. So mine is ash with a rosewood board. Everything else, like all the solid color ones and stuff, as I understand it, they would use alder. I have no idea why this looks so shitty today, and it really is driving me crazy. Sorry, guys. The brightness. I'm trying to solve that this week because it's so damn random. It's like some weeks this looks good. This week it's just whack. Chris Butler is in the top chat. Thank you, my friend. He says 2 things. Turn on table lamps behind you. You're right. I usually do that. Let's give it a try. And the exposure should balance. Hold on. Let's see if this works. I want to give a shout out to Hercules stands that I got some stands from this week as well. I've got this stand here. I don't know if you guys can see. Oh, I got a wacky bulb back here. I've got this stand right here from them this week, and it's really cool. It's like a 5. It's really light, foldable kind of 5 guitar stand, and I really like it. So Hercules, they make some nice. I ordered some stuff from them, and some of the things I got is, it did work. Dude, thank you. That was the issue. Chris Butler, you're the man. Brilliant. Fixed the whole problem. What's my point? With the stands. Yeah, they make some stands that are made for guitars with lacquer. So if there's folks out there that have like lacquer finished guitars that, you find they can get marred by stands that you put them on and stuff. I mean, a lot of like custom shop vendors or Gibsons, if you've got like R9 Les Pauls and things like that, you don't want your stand to screw up your guitar. Well, the Hercules folks, they make these stands that are made for lacquer finishes. And I thought that it was like, they said, yeah, then nobody does that really. Like we're the only company that makes stands that are like lacquer safe, that they know of anyway. And so anyways, I ordered some stuff from them. I got that one stand that you see the guitar sitting on right back there, and it's really cool. I like it. But then I also got some hanger stands because I'm going to hang some more guitars on the walls in here and a little more space. And I got some regular stand-up guitar stands from Hercules. So anyway, nice stands from those folks. That's my guitar stand tip for the week. And Paul says, howdy, Pete. Always enjoy listening to your show. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it. Do the pickups hum? That's Scott F. The pickups in this guitar are different in different positions. They hum. I think what's happening is like when two of them are on, they're acting as a humbucker, basically. So like these two, when I turn them on in series, which is the main Brian May guitar sound, as I understand it, they're working as a humbucker together. Although they sort of, I don't really get it because they sort of still sound kind of single coily. But it is a powerful. I guess it's humbucking because it's a powerful sound, and they're in series, and the hum goes away. So, yep. Word up from Minneapolis, says Dan. What's happening? Let's see. You missed when I said earlier, what kind of treble booster am I using? So it's a Cornish treble booster, and let's just listen to it one more time. Oh shit. Stupid pad just fell off my headphone. I hate it when that happens. You guys ever have these Sony headphones, the 7506s, and the pad comes off? They're so difficult to get back on. I'm going to spend half an hour doing that later. But anyway, for now, I'll just put it right on my ear and listen. Let's do the treble booster one more time, shall we? What a great sound, man. It's inspiring, I tell you. Let's talk just for a second about Brian May and his phrasing. I just want to talk about that for a minute. There's somebody in the top chat, though, so I should say hi. Thanks for all you do, Pete. Says Jerry. Thanks, Jerry. Thanks for being here. He says, have a great week, everybody. Everybody say bye to Jerry. He's got our split. So let's take the Bohemian Rhapsody solo for a minute. One of the most amazing things about Brian May is the way that I've spent a lot of years when I solo trying to play things in time and in the groove and right on the beat and stuff like that. One of the beautiful things that I've learned so much over learning a bunch of these songs in the last week or so is that he places things mainly behind the beat, but sometimes in front of the beat. The way he punctuates his solos with his phrasing is so amazing. So, like, first of all, a lot of vibrato and bending going on, right? And the vibrato is kind of relentless. It happens a lot. Anytime he's sitting on a note, and okay, a lot of that kind of stuff. I don't know if he does that on that exact part of the phrase, but he does things like that all the time. You know, where it's like, it's a little bit, that last note, a little behind the beat. Same thing there. Yeah. And that's a little ahead of the beat. And then, oops, right? And so the way he punctuates things is so incredible. I don't know. He plays around the time a lot, and he never sounds like he's rushing or dragging. It just sounds like somebody speaking or singing beautifully, you know? A lot of vibrato. So great, you know. And then that slippery, the other solo I was playing was the you know, Tie Your Mother Down. Now, this part. This lick is so interesting to me because most people would go, but he goes, there's a little extra phrase in there. It's really great phrasing. inspiring to play with the treble booster. So yeah, it's a Pete Cornish treble booster. Yeah. Oh, we got 400 people online. We broke the 400 mark today. That's excellent. Who else is here? Who else? We've got Akila Rosa. My sister and I went halves on getting a Brian May. Brian May, is that a guitar? Brian May, some GAT for my nephew. Then I promised him my Gibson if he would graduate school. Worked, and now he's getting good at guitar. That's cool. And then I got broke. Well, yeah, but you're doing a good thing. Steve Royce says, haven't been able to make the live shows recently, but really enjoyed and found informative your new studio tours. Thanks, man. Thanks for being here, particularly part 2. Thank you, good sir. Oh, I can't believe the pad fell off my headphones. I got to glue it on there or something. It's so difficult to get back on those things. Anyways, get that to deal with later. What do we got here? What's my unicorn amp? Like one that got away? I don't have one, actually. Well, I sort of missed I bought a Boogie Caliber 50, one of the original ones that had EL84s in it from the late 80s. And it was a really, really good amp, actually, that had a really cool, unique lead sound to it. I always remember it as sounding really good. And then I sold it. It overheated a lot and had problems like with EL84s, just heating up the tubes and the red plate. And so I got rid of it. And I always kind of regretted that. But I don't really miss it that much. I got great amps, I miss that Les Paul. That's what I really miss. Terry's in the top chat. Thanks, good sir. He says, when you learn a song by ear or watch videos, I do everything these days. Also, best sub $100 treble booster to try the sound out. I don't know. That's a good question. You could probably find a used one sub $100 because it's not the most popular effect, whereas it should be because you hear it right now. That's good treble booster. Is so cool. But obviously Brian May built a whole lead tone around it and used it his whole career. But what's your other question? Oh, learning songs. So learning songs, I recommend whatever works for you these days. I mean, I use the phrase trainer transcribe. So like when I'm learning these Queen tunes, they've sent me live versions of their band playing the songs. So I'll load those up. I'll also load up the album versions from Queen, and I load them up in the transcribe phrase trainer, and I listen and learn by ear mainly. But then if there's a part where I want to get I'll also go on YouTube and watch live versions of like Brian May or something, playing the solos and see if there's anything I can garner from that I'm not getting. Like for instance, with his solos, it's interesting because there's obviously a ton of those harmonies and things that he does on records, right? And it's like, how does he approach the solos live? Many times he just plays one of the parts and kind of, Tristan, the fellow that plays guitar in the Queen band that I'm subbing in, he mentioned in an article recently, I thought it was interesting. He said he was kind of busting his ass and racking his brain to try and figure out how to do some of these harmony things. And then he realized Brian doesn't actually do it live. He cops some of the key parts and sort of builds. That's what he would do live in order. It's not like he was using like tons of Eventide harmonizers or whatever to try and recreate exactly every single little part, and you just kind of, in other words, sort of power through and play like a really cool live version of the song. So anyways, referencing live versions can be a great way to learn songs, as well as YouTube lessons, people teaching the songs. But there's a lot of stuff on YouTube where people teach the wrong things. So you got to make sure that you seek out the right, the good lessons. The one that have the most likes and the least dislikes and the most views are generally a good place to start, I guess. Dan's in the top chat, and he didn't ask me a question, but thanks, Dan Rhodes. I appreciate that. Thanks for doing that. This is an interesting question from Oxsend. Hey, Pete, what's your day like? Specifically curious when you find peak times for playing. Generally in the morning, not after 3 p.m. Yeah, it's funny because when you go play gigs, obviously it's at night. And you got to do it at night. And you just sort of gear up for that energy. But in the studio and being creative and stuff like that, I mean, I do work at night these days, but I generally find I love coming in the morning and really get when my brain's fresh and I can just I get excited when I come in this room. I got a great job. I love my job. Just being able to come in and turn on the gear and set it up. And it's like, I don't know, man, it's a lucky thing to be able to play guitar and just have fun. But that's when I come in and I'm wired and I can, because I like now when I've had too much coffee. and I just sit down and just get into writing something, plugging in, getting a sound, and then, I love it. So I guess morning. Hey, where's the cider? Oh, it's not cider time. It's coffee time. No cider before 3 p.m., 5 p.m. Depends whether I'm on vacation. 7 p.m. Steve in the top chat. Thanks, buddy. He says, also enjoying greatly your So You Want to Be a Pro series. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't get one of those done because I was in Hawaii and I want to do another one really quick. So that'll come this week. I've been slacking a little bit on videos on YouTube in general. But back into the flow. Boy, I tell you, you take a week off and it just throws your productivity out the window. But there'll be lots coming soon. I got lots of work to do. So yeah. When is your aura incoming? Oh man, that's from Chris. John keeps threatening that he's got one set aside for me, but like I always say, he's got to get I think they've made about 30 now or something, or 25 or something, and he's got to get the 100 done from that order. So the customers that order those guitars and the shops that order them, they've got to take priority because they've been waiting for a long time for the guitars. So one of these days I'll get an aura. John, he can only do like 2 a week, something like that, 2 or 3 a week, because he puts so much damn time into them. There's no way around it. Iron Maiden is hard to play with just one guitar. Sound not right without the harmonies. I would say that that's true, but Iron Maiden harmonies generally are just 2 parts, and generally you could probably cop them with a harmonizer. I would think a lot of them. When I think about the Trooper or something, that would definitely be something that you could just put a minor third on. How's it even go? Something like that. Right? You could probably put the minor third on there and it would work. So the Queen stuff is kind of all over the place harmonically, and the keys change and stuff. So harmonizers becomes difficult because if anything's changing, I used to have to do it Don Henley, where I did the guitar parts on one of these nights, and I had to come up with 3 patches on the harmonizer just to play a simple part because the keys would change for every chord, and so it was going outside of the diatonic thing. So I came up with a way to do it, but man, if I ever hit the wrong patch, it would be, I never did, luckily, but it would have been like, whoa, like one note would be major third where it was supposed to be a minor or something. Wouldn't have been good. Yeah. Jennifer says, we love your job too. Thanks, Jennifer. You're always here. You're always a good supporter. I appreciate it. On his video, uses 3 delays set up one after the other. Yeah, that's the kind of classic Brian May solo thing where he'd have the 3 delays going. He did an amazing thing he would do during his guitar solos live. I never got to see Queen. I wish I did, man. Wish I got to see them. I know some folks that got to see them live, and they said it was just amazing. Pete, do you enjoy playing as you did when growing up, or is it more of a job? It can be a job, but having said what I just said, it's like, no, I still, the trick is to not let it become a job, I think. Like, figure out what it is that originally got you into it and what got you jazzed about it, and try and tap into that, and if it becomes sort of jobbish, then switch it up, because there's always, if you are bored with what you're doing, where it seems mundane, and you're playing, say, in a cover band or something, and you're playing the same songs all the time, take classical guitar lessons, or flamenco guitar, something that, you'll rediscover. You're like, oh my God, there's still so much more to learn, right? This is completely different. Like, I'm using my right hand in a way I've never used it before. And it's like, there's always something else to learn, and you can always bust yourself out of the rut by getting into some other thing, JVM compared to JCM and Super Lead. Is that a question? I don't. JVM. Those are the modern ones, right? That's from James. I don't know. I sort of like prejudge those amps when I see them. Like when I look at them and I'm like, oh, look at all those bells and whistles and knobs and stuff. It can't sound that good. And then I plug in and they sound pretty good. That's what I find generally with those amps, like JVM 410 or the one Satriani uses and stuff. It looks like a lot of circuit boards and whatever, those connector cables on the inside, the kind of ones that look like computer cables. And how can that sound good? And then you plug them in, they sound pretty good. That's what I found, generally speaking. So I don't know, as long as it sounds good, it is good. If it sounds good to you, I don't have a hell of a lot of experience with them, though. I'll say that. I mainly know about the, JCM 900 and backwards. I guess I had a JCM 2000 too. That was a good amp. I had a 50 watt JCM 2000 DSL. Good, solid workhorse amp. Not bad. The lead channel was kind of, you guys know that have tried them. They're a little ratty, but they can be modded to sound better, by the way. Friedman's got some good mods for JCM 2000 DSLs. A couple of people in the top chat. Loot89 says, off topic, but thoughts on Rival Sons. Seems like Greta Van Fleet is getting all the media attention, but I got to tell you, Rival Sons are so much more polished. Well, Rival Sons been around a long time, and I thought Rival Sons went through an evolution, much like I hope Greta Van Fleet does, actually, where they became a little more their own thing and a little less of like a classic rock revival kind of situation. Don't you think? I don't know. That was just my opinion of. I like Rival. The guitar player is really good in that band. And I don't know. I don't know much about them beyond that. But I've watched a little bit of them live, and I would agree with you. They're more polished, but they're a lot older, than Greta Van Fleet's, basically like straight out of high school. So we'll give them some time. We'll give Greta Van Fleet the benefit of the doubt. I hope that they move beyond the Zeppelin thing. I saw an interview with Robert Plant recently where he said, oh yeah, the singer says that he got most of his inspiration from Steven Tyler. And I thought, oh, to be Robert Plant, that's funny. He just totally took the piss out. But it's kind of the way I feel about them. Like, they just need to get their own thing, a little bit more. They cool band. I mean, in their own, it's just don't play so much like Led Zeppelin. I don't know. That's what I wish about that band. But hey, a lot more right going on than wrong, right? They're playing rock and roll, and they seem like they're having a good time. Hey, Pete, how do you strike a balance between having programmed combinations of pedals on your board for specific songs and being able to jam and change pedal combos on the fly? That's a good question. Generally speaking, when I'm getting ready to do a tour or something, I'll program, I like to push a button and have the sound there, and that's cool. But my stock sounds, like I do have like my stock 4 or 5 sounds on my pedal board down there all laid out, where it's like, okay, this is bank 1, clean through progressively dirtier. And when you get to the end, it's like a lead sound, And then what I've done on each of those sounds is on the pedals, there's some options so that because I've got the Boss delay, and you can have 2 sounds per bank. So for instance, I'll have like a delay for the clean sound that's like just a little bit of stereo echo or something like that. But then I'll hit the other sound that's up on that particular bank when I'm on that preset, and it'll be like a slap, something like that. And on the next sound where my Jan Ray comes on, I might have a slap and a spring reverb come on. And then on my Mobius, I'll have it bypassed, but I'll have a tremolo and maybe like a rotary or a vibe. So it's like, okay, I know when I'm on that sound that I can easily get to a springy, slappy sound. And then if I want to add some trem, I can do that. So I'll think about each sound and what I can do to have a couple cool pedals to add to that. You know what I mean? So I've got a basic palette base of across those 5 presets with some different colors that I can bring in and out per sound, so that I can quickly get to some different things. So that's how I approach that kind of, and then I've got, of course, specific song presets for certain songs. Yeah, PT15IR still on schedule, says Mike. He's in the top chat. Thank you, my friend. Yes, I actually did some IRs yesterday, so that I can send them. I sent them to Kevin Sir yesterday night once I finished, and they're going to load up the PT. I have it sitting. You can see the edge of it right here. There it is. Can you see it? Oh no, you can't. Well, it's right here. I had it plugged in, and I was trying it with making IRs in Mix IR 2, which are basically combinations. I'm doing custom blends of Celestion IRs, and then Kevin's gonna make them into IRs to put into the PT15. So what I did was, what I've discovered, and I've recently discovered this week. For a long time, I was using the Celestion IRs that are the all mic mix of like whatever I like. So Greenback 412 all mic mix high gain. Those were like my favorite let's say like my favorite one from Celestion, basically. But what I discovered is I liked the 57 and 121 mic mix more than the all mic mix. So I'm eliminating the 421 out of the equation, basically. They sound a little better to me, a little less ratty and a little smoother, and just everything's there. So in the 57 and the 121 mix on, say, Greenback 412, that one I really like. And it sounds incredible with the amp. And I thought, that's a great core sound. It's hard for me to get something I necessarily like as a basic sound better than that. So what I'll do is I'll make some IRs that just kind of complement that. And those are the ones I'll include. So what I did was do some warmer ones, because I know some people like warmer high gain sounds or smoother. So for V30 412, Greenback 412, I tried to make some slightly warmer, smoother IRs than that 121 and 57 high gain mix. And so I'm including those. I made 8 IRs. Some of the clean ones I did, what I'm doing is I'm blending for like the clean channel. I'm using all the Sir Celestion IRs for all of the IRs that go in that'll be in the amplifier. And so for the clean ones, what I'm doing is I'm blending combination of front mics on the cabinet as well as blending in the rear mic a little bit. The rear mic adds all this character. That's really amazing. It sounds bigger and fuller. And if you just blend it in at like 5% to 10%, maybe even, like closer to 5%, all of a sudden you hear the sound get fuller and it sounds more like a combo, like an open back, a little less thin, full, rich, great for cleans or semi broken up stuff. So I've got 4 of those and 4 closed back stuff. Basically, like the closed back are all like slightly warmer, smoother versions of Greenback V30, PT212, and what was the closed back 112 with V30. So it's all those. So you'll have a nice mix there. And so the amp will have 8 of my custom IRs in it and 8 standard Sir ones that are like the Celestion Sir ones. And that's what it's going to come with. So anyways, loading those up next week and building. They're doing the boards, like they got all the boards and everything. They're building next week. So they're on track as far as I know. Everything's on time. That's what they keep telling me. So June, looking good. And I'm going to be announcing some clinics, guys, to do for the amp. And it'll be my, a recording and production for the modern pro guitarist, or whatever I call it. Recording and production for the modern guitarist. I think that's what I call it. That's my clinic, and I'll be doing those, but this time using the amp, mainly focusing on the PT15 amp. So if anybody's been to one of the clinics before, I'm going to be doing a brand new track, brand new piece of music, and I'll track a whole song in the clinic and talk about each part and stuff and how I'm getting the sounds as well as musical approach to the parts, and do a quick mix, mastering, and all that stuff. And Robert is in the top chat, and I think he was in the top chat before, and I missed his question. So I'm going to go down to the bottom here and figure out what he asked. I missed something. Sir, clumsy fingers, he said. But Jeff says, still remodeling, just popped in to say hi. Hi, Jeff. Thanks for doing the top chat. You're too kind. Too kind, my friend. Well, maybe I didn't miss Robert's. I'm paging back here. I don't think I missed anybody that was in the top chat. Anyways, I think I'm all caught up there. So yeah, exciting stuff. Greta Van Fleet does 2 nights at the Aragon with 1 true album. Well, I guess that's a good thing. If that shows that there's some rock fans out there, that's a good thing, right? There's still some people that want to go. I love that. I'd go to a clinic here in Auckland, New Zealand. Man, I would love to go to New Zealand to do clinics. Are you kidding? Come down there and stay for a while. Just hang. I wish. Let them know. Tell them that you'd like to get me down there. I'd love to come down there at some point and just do some stuff. Australia, New Zealand would be great. It would make sense to do it if I could go to Asia and then go down there too, because there's been a lot of Indonesia, China, South Korea, Japan, and New Zealand and Australia would be a great way to do it, I would think, logistically. How do I quiet my P90s, says Hawes. Look into the Illich backplate. Illich is a good good resource for the noiseless thing. Yeah. I listen to humans, but you play. So do a little chat moderation. Let's see. Moving down. Sorry, I'm doing a little review here to make sure I'm not making a mistake. Somebody's just being weird in the chat, so I'm trying to figure out if they need to go into timeout. Okay, Queens of the Stone Age didn't try and sound like a tribute band. That's true. That's a great point. I often make the point about like Soundgarden, Queens of the Stone Age. Soundgarden's a great, like if you listen to Burden in My Hand by Soundgarden, that's a song I use an example a lot of, like where you can hear a buttload of Zeppelin influence, but it doesn't sound anything like Led Zeppelin. Queens of the Stone Age is a great example of, a band too that definitely drawing from things from the past, but it's got its own thing going on, so it can be done, and the key is in drawing from more influences than just one band. I think, don't just try and do a Zeppelin and use that as a template. It's like, yeah, draw from Led Zeppelin, but also draw from, I don't know, Bad Brains or something and put it all together into a sound to make it your own, nothing wrong with influences. That's for sure. Are you going to be marketing those IRs separate from the amplifier? I don't know. I guess that would be up to Celestion. I think I'd rather do it. I think that the ones that I made for the amp should just be in the amp. Custom IRs that go just in the amp, particularly for the PT 15. Just wanted to say thanks for the smorgasbord of information you share. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it. I do. I'm getting the new Marshall Studio Plexi 20, says Bill. That's cool, man. Great amplifier. From what I've seen online and stuff, seems like a lot of fun at the right price. It's a cool thing for sure that they're doing a lower watt plexi with that front end. It seems like a no-brainer. But incidentally, I've been asking John to do that forever. It's like, dude, you need to make that SL20, 20 watt super lead, still with post phase master and all that stuff, but maybe just use the power section out of the PT. I think it would be a great amp, popular amp, because it's all some people want. It's just good plexi. But I guess Marshall's done it with their little plexi. Seems really cool. Okay. Dude, where are the clinics going to be, says Old Guy's Guitar Vlog. Haven't announced them yet. There's going to be a couple on the East Coast, maybe 3. And then we're talking about a whole bunch of Europe stuff right now, because there seems to be interest over there. So just trying to figure it out going into the summer. So I'm getting short on time, though. I really want to get it locked down, but they're working on it. So, excuse me. Also a couple in California, I think. Yep. Paging down, looking through the chat. What brand and model is that red special replica? I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was made by Greg Fryer. Isn't that guy's name Greg Fryer? It's Greg, right? Who's in New Zealand, I think. And he made some custom ones. Okay. Pete, are you using effect loop for some of the pedals? The pedals on my pedal board, is that what you mean? Because I was just referencing the pedal board. Yeah, they're all in loops on a. You can see the blue display down right over. It's hard to do this in reverse. There, on the Musicom Lab switcher, they're in loops on the Musicom. All the pedals. Tone Talk. Loved your show with Steve. So good. You mean Steve Stevens? Did I do a Tone Talk with Steve? Maybe I did. I can't even remember. I saw Steve yesterday. His band is great, by the way. Have you guys seen Steve Stevens' new band called Deadland Ritual? And Geezer Butler's playing bass, and Frankie Perez is singing. Matt Sorum is on drums. Cool band. And they're going to be doing a bunch of Europe festivals and stuff this summer. Pretty cool. Definitely nothing wrong with influences inspiring you. Plagiarizing is another thing entirely. That's from Ted. Yeah, I agree. Lots of influences are how you build a style, and then you pour it all into your own thing and make your own custom dealio. Yeah, alrighty. I heard the 20-watt 800 is awesome, says Rick. Yeah, I haven't tried any of them, to tell you the truth, but I'd like to give them a try, see how they sound. Hoping one of the East Coast clinics is Sound Pure in Durham, North Carolina. Are they a Sur dealer? That's from Tim. You could ask them, let them know that I'm coming out there. And because that wasn't one of the ones that we were talking to, but let them know that I'm coming out there and that you'd like to see one. And it's going to be, towards, June, July, something like that. And maybe they can jump on board. And because, it'd be great to have a bunch of them in a row while I'm out there. If we could turn it into a full blown tour rather than just 2 or 3, that would be, a great thing. Thanks, Tim. If you want to hit them up, that makes a big difference. If customers go to if there's a Sur dealer and say, hey, we'd love to have Pete in to do his clinic, if they hear it from you guys. Jennifer's saying LA clinics, nothing for LA right now, but maybe down the road a little bit, but more like San Diego, I think in that area, there might be something coming. So not too far. Best amp for $250, says Horse Guy. The first thing that came to mind was probably a Katana, one of the Boss or Next Tone. People seem to really like those. Those are the ones I hear about now for a budget amp that seems to be pretty solid amp. Miguel just got a Takai, he says, and he adores the guitar. Having been many times to Japan, would you betray Gibson for the right one? Takai is like its own thing. They've been around since the 70s, and I feel like Takai is like Ibanez. It's just they never broke out as much as a company like Ibanez did from Japan, I guess. But great, a Takai is a Takai at this point. I know it's a Les Paul knockoff, the Love Rocks, but when people see them, they say Takai on the headstock, and it's taken on its own. It's like, oh, that's that great guitar that company made a copy of in the 80s, and now has become its own thing. I guess Gibson's losing a few sales over it, but come on, it's like, I don't know. It's a gray area for me, I guess. I know it technically is like a lawsuit guitar. I love Takais. I do. I think they're really cool. The Steve Ferris show is what I meant. Oh, Steve Ferris Tone Talk. Yeah, I saw that he did a Tone Talk with Friedman the other day. I did see that. Was it good? You enjoyed? Dave said he had that he told a lot of good stories, and that it was really cool. Geezer and Steven sounds like an interesting combo, says Taste Glees. Yeah, agreed. Definitely. It's cool. It's cool music. Let's see. I'm doing a huge double feature on Deadland Ritual, says Jennifer. Cool. Yeah, I mean they're really great. Definitely. Another person in the chat here saying, hey Pete, love the So You Want to Be a Pro series. I will do another one this week. I promise. I'll get one done. Jennifer says Mesa Boogie Clinic. There we go, California, crossing fingers. The Mesa store in Hollywood has the pedals and the guitars and stuff, but they do Mesa amps, and this would be a clinic mainly for the amps, so we can't have the amps there. There's that conflict, so that's why not the Mesa store. Yeah. Scott F says, Pete, do you prefer hand-wired amps over PC boards? I don't think it matters. If an amp has a well-designed PC board, it makes no difference. The PT15 is PC board, but they're thick-ass PC boards with thick traces, and they're made to, you know what I mean? It's like, tonally, I really don't think it's an issue. I think that there's something about when you've got a simple amp, like I'll tell you when it becomes like more beneficial to have a PC board. If you have an amp like the PT15 and you tried to make it like turret board or something or hand wired, it'd be a mess, because there's no way to get the consistency and build it efficiently when you've got as much tech as is in the amp. When you've got a three channels, and then like, you got boards for IRs and things, that you got to have PC boards. There's no other way around it. And in any modern Marshall or anything, you'll look at them and see like, oh, there's enough stuff going on. There's just no way they could put this much features in an amp and do it point to point. It wouldn't work. It'd be a hodgepodge, and it'd be a rat's nest. But in a simple 1-channel amp, or even a 2-channel amp, sometimes it can be a cool thing. The hand wired thing. And as long as it's done right, when you look inside them and they're like rat's nests, it's like, well, just because it's hand wired, there's a lot of stray wires and noises and things that can happen when wires aren't perfect. When they're made like a high watt or something, or well made, then it's one thing. I guess that's it. With PC board, it's got to be a relatively simple amp, and it has to be built right, like really built right by people that know what they're doing. Any clinic dates in Nashville? Not right now that I know of, but I'd love to do that. Right. It's about 1:06. I started a little late today, so I'm going to go about another 10, 15 minutes, and I'm going to be done. Okay. I like this guy, says Joe Schmo. Thanks. I like you too, Joe. Don't go away. Please stay. Hang with me for another 10, 15 minutes. Wyatt Willis says, why does a tube rectified Marshall not as much fun to play for medium high gain as a solid? The tube rectify thing, it's a little softer on the attack. The rectifier does have an effect on the sound. So for high gain, it's like it's going to be a little squishier, a little softer. It's not going to be as fast. You're going to get a little more aggressive sound out of a solid state rectifier always. And tube rectifiers go bad. It's one more thing it's just a good point to make. Sometimes when something's wrong with an amplifier, I had a funny moment around here. I'll tell you a story with Dave Friedman. One time he was fixing an amplifier, and he didn't know what was wrong with it. He's going to bust my balls if he's listening to this. But anyway, he was like, I've tried everything with this amp. I can't figure out what's going on with it. It's doing this weird thing and stuff. And I said, you check the rectifier tube? It was a deluxe reverb reissue. And he said, I don't think it's that. And I said, check the rectifier tube. Like, I know what I'm talking about, And 10 minutes later, he's like, it was the rectifier tube. And I laughed. But I remember a time in the 80s where my friend Al was trying to figure out what was wrong with one of his amps. And it was the rectifier. It was a bad rectifier tube. And I that stuck in my head for some reason when Dave was trying to track down the problem with this amp. And I thought, it's got a tube rectifier. I wonder if he looked at that. So I just wanted to sound smart for a minute. And sure enough, it was so anyway, they go bad. And it's one of those things that people tend to overlook, maybe. But it's one more kind of weak component, i.e. tubes. Tubes are sketchy these days. And it's one of the weak links in an amp for sure, So anyway, there's that to consider. I love that. And Dave was like, you fucker. Hey, Pete, love the Canadian Solos video that you did a while back. Any chance of doing another one? I'd love to. Probably more of a chance of me doing Brian May solos at this point, because I tend to make these videos about things that I'm doing at the time for work. So, yeah. Scott F says, Pete, do you think earrings help your guitar tone? I don't know. Give them a try. See if it helps you out. Moving down. Let's see. Tom says JJ 5AR4 GG34 rectifier tube suck. JJ in general has been kind of not really great these days. Although their 6v6s are still great. That's what we're using the PT15. It's weird. It's one of the most reliable 6v6s of all time, evidently. And their 12AX7s are known for being low noise. Now, I don't like them because they're the short plate ECC 83 ones, because they sound like threw a blanket over the amp to me. But they are low microphonics and reliable and not noisy and stuff like that. What else we got? I'm going to kind of go down to the bottom of the chat and look at a few more questions down here. And then I'm going to jet pretty soon, you guys. Let's see. What's my favorite guitar tuning? Standard. E flat. Standard, I guess. Has a badass sound. Guitars just sound better in E flat. Let's see. Jerry says, yes, phase inverter, rectifier. I agree. Phase inverter, rectifier. He says output transformer, but places that tend to go unchecked, the least to get checked. Yeah, the phase inverter tube. It's true. When you replace power tubes, it's a good one to replace. I've noticed a dramatic difference in amps sometimes when I've replaced a phase inverter tube. That, they should be changed evidently when you change power tubes, from what I'm told, because they get driven pretty hard. Yeah. And Jay Money says, hey, Pete, are you going to tour with Alice Cooper this year? Not that I know of. I don't think they need a guitar player, do they? Somebody throw my name in the hat if they do. Let's see. Have you ever played in an open tuning? Sure, many times. If I'm playing a slide part or something, I usually throw the guitar in an open tuning. And I did lots of alternate tuning stuff with Chris Cornell, playing with him. Interesting open tunings. Let's see. I don't know if they're open tunings necessarily, but some of them. Tom's in the top chat, and he says, Pete, does your super lead have any 60 cycle hum? I think it's the bad lead dress in mine, as it always hums. You could send it to Friedman, see if he can track down extraneous noises. But it could be. Pete, always a great way to kick off a Sunday. Well done. That's Peter Evans. Both you guys in the top chat. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you doing that. Yeah, my super lead, it's pretty quiet, really. I'm not the pickiest about noise, to be honest. Like, I don't like 60 cycle hum. If it's like guitar buzz, it drives me a little bonkers. But I'm not, it's sort of part of the game, I think. I hate gates and stuff. I don't like them. Aquila is in the regular chat. He says, Chinese 12AX7s can be good. I compared to some golden sample old Mullards I have, and the Chinese was only clearly beat by one of them. Yeah, Chinese 12AX7s are good and low noise. They can be a little hard to find these days, the low noise ones. You got to run through a few to put one in the V1 of a high gain amp. But I like the tone, generally speaking, especially for modern high gain amps. They've got a good sizzly kind of high gain sound. Better than a JJ, which sounds like poo to me. Pete, any solid state amp you like that's comparable to tube amps? That's from Scott. I don't have a lot of experience with new ones like Quilters and stuff like that. The Roland stuff, the Blues Cubes always sounded pretty good to me. I don't know about comparable to tube amps, but they sounded. I like those old Blues Cubes from the 90s. Now they make them again, so we're similar, Ty Tabor sounded great with his orange. Can't remember the model number, but he's got an orange, like 200 watt solid state head that he's using on the last tour. It sounded really good, I thought. Almost made me want to try one, even though I've got my own amp. Just sounded good. Okay. Let's see here. A couple more questions, and then I'm going to split, folks. Tactical Six Strings says, Pete, when you get a refret done, do they need the whole guitar done or just the neck be sent? You should probably get the whole guitar done. It's a good question. You could have the guitar refretted, and then you kind of need to send the whole guitar, I think. I suppose you could get the neck done and then have it sort of dressed and then say, can I just bolt it back on the guitar and see? Ask the luthier. It's a good luthier question. If somebody thinks they can handle that job, if it's a Strat or Tele neck or something, maybe they can fix that up. But let's see. Ruben from Argentina wants to know what I think about Gibson Custom Shop in 2019. Some of the guitars I've seen look beautiful coming out of there, and we're all pulling for them. And I bet the morale's better. Only guessing, but. I've seen some nice looking guitars coming out of there for sure. Recently, like pictures people are posting on Gear Page and stuff like that. I haven't tried any personally. Well, I guess I tried some stuff I saw at NAMM,
But, you know, I think they're giving it a good go, and they got the new CEO and stuff, and Henry's out of there, and it's a good thing. You know, hopefully the Levi's guy can make it all happen. Down to the bottom of the chat. What do I think of the True Temper frets? Have not tried them. I don't know. Pete, do you want to tour anymore, or are you done, says James? I totally want to tour, but I only want to do things that are really, like, I don't want to tour because I have to, like, because you need to make money or whatever. You know, it's got to be a gig that I like, and something where I feel like I'm really appreciated, like they want me, you know, for whatever my skill set is or whatever. Not anything that I'm like vying too hard to look at me. I want the gig, and then all right, we'll take that guy. I guess I don't want to. I'm done with all that stuff. You know, it's got to be like something where it's, you know, feels good to, you know, where you're, you know what I mean. You get older and you're like, you don't want to, like, you're tired of like trying to prove yourself or whatever. I just want to go where I'm wanted, and you know, where the money's good, the hang's good, all that stuff. Then I'd be happy to. I still love touring. I still love traveling. I don't have kids. It's like I can do it, you know. So if you had to refret your 60s telly, what frets would you use? Probably 6105 on a telly. It was refretted actually, and I think they are 6105s. So my old telly got refretted before I bought it. Yeah, Glenn says, nah, new frets means total setup. I mean, I agree. I would just be tempted to just spend the money and ship the guitar. You know, I think that's the best way to go. You know, if you're getting a refret done, it's you know, you're gonna do it once and get it done. Just spend a little bit extra cash and shipping, get it done right. I think. Yeah. And somebody suggesting, Ben Coombs is saying, like to go with stainless steel because they last much longer. Yeah, like on a Strat or a Telly, you know, unless it's like real vintage or whatever, maybe go stainless steel, and then that'll be the last time you ever have to do it, probably. Okay. You've paid your dues, said Tasty Cleese. I think so. I have. Hello from Portugal. What's up, Portugal? Project Guitar. What are the pros and cons about playing live with in-ears? The pros are that your mix is consistent. You have it at whatever volume level you want it at. The mix consistent meaning that you can walk all over the stage and you still hear your guitar just perfectly in your in-ears. You can sing better, generally speaking, and you sing less hard and blow your voice out less. You know, those are all pros. The cons are also some of the pros. The cons being your mix is consistent, so you can't change it on the fly, meaning that like, just in this section right here, I'd like to hear a little more hi-hat. So you walk over towards the hi-hat would have been the way that you do it naturally in the old days. Now that doesn't do anything because you can only hear what you can hear in your ears. So sometimes it's a little anxiety provoking because you're playing a part. You can't hear the drummer keeping time back there. And it's like, and you're trying to listen, and right there, you're sort of fuck your feel up, right? You know, your vibe or your dynamic or whatever goes out the window a little bit. That's the part I hate about it, is that you can't naturally on stage do a mix. So the thing that's great about it can also be the thing that sucks about it. When the consistency thing really becomes into play and it becomes very important, like I did a tour run once when I was with Chris Cornell where we opened for Lenny Kravitz for 3 weeks. And we didn't even get a sound check on that tour until maybe towards the end of the tour, maybe 2 weeks into the tour. We finally got a sound check because Lenny was like going all the way up to doors almost with his sound check every day, which ended up being fine because we were all on in-ears. We had our own monitor console, our own mics. We carried everything with us. So when they set the gear up, it's basically sounded every day exactly like it did in rehearsal because we set the volumes the same on all the amps and all that good stuff. And the mics were all consistent. Our board was consistent. You just pull up the preset, boom, in-ears go in, and it's like, yep, that's the mix I remember from the rehearsal room in LA. You know, so that to that point, if you're going to play a festival with a band, you know, like big festival outdoor thing, you never get sound checks for that stuff. Rarely, you know, unless you're the headliner or something. So every day you go to some new festival and you just, you know, get the same mix. There it is, you know, and it works. And so it works really, really great in some ways. When you've got those situations, it can be a godsend for those deals. Also, on those big gigs where you're playing like a great big, an outdoor stage or something, or where there's ramps or things, and you can, with hearing yourself, it'd be impossible, to get a consistent monitor mix and hear your guitar and stuff when you're running up those ramps or out the middle of the front. You start to hear the PA. Like if you go down a big ego ramp in the front, out to, walking out from the front of the stage, one of those things, you'll start to hear the PA, and there's a lot of delay on a PA like that. The sound coming out of there, this time it takes the sound to reach your ears, as well as just all the gear it's going through and everything, and the front of house sound. I'm not kidding. It's like, and as you get further away from the stage, it gets more, but when you start to hear the PA, it's like 100 milliseconds delay. And then as you get further and further out, that becomes like 200 milliseconds. And if you get as far away as I was, say, at the show I did at Fuji, where I had to go to a middle stage that was probably a quarter mile from the main stage, it's like 600 milliseconds. It's crazy. You literally hit a note, comes through the PA. It's like that. So there's no way you could play without in-ears it'd just be impossible. So that's where in-ears become a necessity. Is at shows like that I hate losing the intimacy with the other musicians. Being able to talk to people, that's the con. I remember one time on stage with Melissa Etheridge when we were on Years, and the bass player saying to the drummer, saying something, he was shouting something when he was playing, and the drummer goes, "I can't hear you," and I was like, oh, and he turned around and walked away, and I was like, there it is. That's the shitty part right there, is that you can't just have a musical conversation, let alone an actual real conversation on stage where you might share an anecdote or something. Oh, look at that funny guy in the front row or whatever, with somebody on stage. That just goes out the window. You can't say that shit anymore. Unless you go right up to somebody's ear and yell at it because they got this thing in their ear that's blocking like 30 dB of sound. It's a mixed bag, It's a real mixed bag. That's my feeling on the ears. What are my favorite guitar stores in LA? True Tone in Santa Monica, always a great store. Guitar's on. Sorry. The Boogie store in Hollywood is a good hang for great pedal selection in a smaller shop, And the new Guitar Center in Hollywood's nice. If nobody's been, by the way, you should go check it out. They renovated it. It's actually really a nice store now. What are some other good stores in LA? I'm going to miss some stuff here. California Guitar in Van Nuys, which I believe is still there, is a nice shop for vintage guitars as well as some custom Fender stuff. What else? Come on. Norms, of course, it's a classic. Those are some, to check out for sure. Kravitz wasn't huge before Soundgarden. Let Love Rule was after. I guess it probably was. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Chris Cornell isn't a synonym for Soundgarden. I would agree with that, sort of. Yeah, true. Soundgarden, yes. Okay, true. Soundgarden was definitely a combination of but he was obviously the huge element, but Soundgarden ain't Soundgarden without all four members. That's for sure. I totally agree. What do I think of the Atomic Amplifier? I really like the little one that's from Jack Murphy. That's the only one that I've done a review of, but the little guy, that's $299, killer, terrific little thing. McCabe's, that's another good LA store, acoustics mainly, but yeah, it's a good shop for sure. I'm wearing a Norm shirt right now. Doing a little promo for old Norm. How about that? What's the most memorable gig you saw? Coming to mind, it's 1984 by Van Halen, the AC/DC show where I got to go on stage. That was exceptional for me. That was a great one that I remember. The Who in 2001, because I saw them still with Entwistle. I loved that. What are some other really memorable ones? The Def Leppard Hysteria concert was great. In the Round, first time a rock band had really done that, and I had killer seats, and it was a party. I just remember it being like a summer party, like so much fun. And seeing Rick up there playing the drums, you know, he'd lost his arm, and it was like this triumphant return where he came back and just killed it with you know, one arm, and we were all blown away. He did some crazy drum solo where he was spinning around, and that was pretty cool. Those are a bunch that I remember. Anything else from the 80s? Because there's so many good ones. Sort of like Judas Priest, Defenders of the Faith. That was pretty cool. Iron Maiden, Power Slave. That was pretty cool. I never saw Pink Floyd, which is too bad. I wish I'd seen them at some point. But Ozzy in 82. What else did I see? Rolling Stones around 97 or 98 in my hometown at the football stadium. That was a great show. Anything else I can remember? Those are the main ones that come to mind. Van Halen on the 84 tour was like, you know, and Roth on the Eat 'Em and Smile tour was cool too. That was fun. But I remember the Van Halen show just being like, because I'd never seen them, you know, up till then, and that was exceptional. All right, you guys, I think I'm going to split. I think that's it for this week. That was a good week. I had a good time. I hope you all did. Let's see here. Chris Butler put up a cool link of cool breakdowns of Brian May's settings in Queen songs. I was looking at that yesterday. Isn't the internet an amazing thing? Yeah, that's it. That's a good site, the Brian May Guitars site. Okay, so somebody's saying, yeah, Cornell opened for Kravitz. Kravitz didn't open for Cornell. That's true, but keep in mind, I'm talking about a French tour here, where Lenny Kravitz. I love Lenny, by the way. He's great. He was always really cool to me on the road. He's a nice guy. You know, I know he drives. He's a hard, like driving the band hard, works them hard. But he's a really cool guy. I liked his vibe. I've seen Lenny Kravitz live probably more than any other artist, because for 3 weeks I sat there in the front row and watched him every night, and he'll blow you away with his, you know, ability to play different instruments and just his showmanship. And he's got a lot of great songs. I like Lenny. But he's a big artist in Europe, parts of Europe, especially France. He's an arena artist, and you know, he'll play great big places. Not probably has as big of an audience, you know, in other parts of the world. So keep in mind, we were talking about a tour that we did with him in his market where he really kicks ass, and he's a very, very, very big artist. There might be markets where Cornell and him would have been at the same level, and they could have done a co-headlining thing, you know. So it's not as simple as how you put it, Hector. I'm not giving you a hard time. Just clarifying. You know, that's how it is. All right, you guys. You guys have a great week, and I'll see you next time. I'll be here next Sunday. We'll be here next Sunday, right? Yeah. I'll be here next Sunday, and you guys rock and roll all week long. Have a cool week. Be nice to people, and take it easy. Over and out.